because I do think a little montage of him going on Tinder dates with like human women, like they're like at the bars and stuff, seems really funny.
Yeah, and they're all like snobs. They're all like, "Oh, you're not over 6 feet," you know.
You're not even close. You're not even over 6 inches.
Yeah. He's just like, but I'm a good guy. I'm educated, you know. Yeah, they're like, how old are you? You know, they ask him and he's just like, I don't know.
It's funny that all of these women, these are the questions and the things that are not the fact that he's a mouse.
Oh, yeah. Of course not.
Hello and welcome to StoryFellas, the podcast where we make stories and we break stories. I'm your host, Tommy Antonucci.
And I'm your host, Zach Lovelace.
And we're here. We're doing it again.
We are here again. I just want to start us off by asking Tommy, how you doing?
I'm doing well, man. I'm a little tired today, but you know what? I'm here to rock and roll. Life is good. I'm blessed and I have nothing major to complain about. So I'm very thankful to be here telling stories with my dear friend Zach. How are you doing?
I'm well, especially after that. I
You're crying.
Shut up. I'm happy to be here and happy to be telling stories and everything. And I like recording on Tuesdays. It gives me something to look forward to at the very beginning of the week. You know, Monday is a little bit of a crash pad day. You get home from the first day of the week and you're like, all right, I'm just going to chill.
That's the crying night. That's what you come over here. Please. But tomorrow I get to tell stories.
I got to save all my stories. Oh. But
if audience, if you're not watching the clips, you should go check these out because we are doing some faces.
We are definitely of the Jim Carrey era of growing up. I think it bleeds itself into some of the content.
Do you ever just like when you're in like a public restroom in the mirror, just like make a face and you're like, I didn't know I could make that face. Do you ever do that? You're just like, see how rubber your face can go?
Oh yeah, man. No, there's so many times, especially like being on this camera, it's like looking at myself and it's like, okay, you get kind of used to looking at yourself this way. And then like just looking in a mirror, it's not the same focal length or whatever. So you just look slightly different.
Yep.
And it's just, I look at myself all the time, obviously.
It's the reverse of you. Is that true? Hold on, my brain's breaking a bit. What you see in the mirror, is that what other people see when they look at you? Or do they see the flipped version?
They see the flipped version. What other people see, yeah.
So what I see in the mirror is not what other people see.
Yeah.
That's weird.
It is, isn't it?
Yeah. I guess I see myself in pictures and that's what,
That's true. You remember the early days of Facebook? To kind of transition us here, this isn't a very good transition, but you remember the early days of Facebook where you would get on to see what pictures you were tagged in after something, or you would pop up and be tagged.
Dude, I had more pictures in high school of myself than ever because I don't know if Michael's listening. My friend Michael had a camera. He was a photographer. Would take photos at all the things. So I always had cool photos of
That's awesome.
You saw me live my life. And then once that wasn't a thing anymore, I'm like, there's barely any pictures of me. Same thing. Like you go after an event and you're just like, oh, I gotta see where I am.
Where I was tagged. Yeah. That's like, man, such a little blippy era. I was talking to somebody the other day about the family computer as well. Like everybody had a family computer, at least from our generation. Yeah. And it was really from like 1999 to probably 2011, maybe 2009 even. Yeah. Like before the smartphone took over and just destroyed the family communal place.
Yeah.
And I don't know, that's just such an interesting little artifact that my kids will never experience and probably most kids.
Yeah. It's weird. These eras of technology that when we're kids feels like it was such a long time. But then you look back and you're like, oh, that was like 2 years that thing was around at its peak.
But in your life at the time, it felt like forever because you were still, your little kid brain is like,
this is just how it is. This is what I always joke that when we were kids, we had a TV with 3 channels in it, and the remote was weird, so you had to like use it from the other angle.
Hmm.
And do you want to hear something? And I don't know if my grandmother listens to this, but if she does, this shout out to you because this is your old house.
Come on,
I don't.
Grandma Antonucci.
It's also it's on my mother's name. Side,
Oh,
so
okay, okay,
not
okay.
Grandma Antonucci. Maybe she listens too. Um, but she had upstairs on the top level, there was like an entertainment system and a big TV,
Hmm.
and you could control the satellite dish and all of that. And everything downstairs was just a mirror version of that. So you could have like the kitchen
Mm.
or the living room TV or the basement TV. But if I was down in the basement watching TV, if I wanted to change the channel, I had to go to the
Whoa,
top
yeah.
level. So you would just, but that was like the era of you'd have these big chunks of after school stuff. So you're just like,
Yeah.
oh, I know I'm good for the next 2 hours. And then you just hunker down. But I was, it's so crazy. And now we can do everything from our phones. And
Oh,
back
it's
then I had to walk
terrible.
2 flights of stairs to just change the channel.
Dude, yeah. I mean,
I sound like an old
just
man.
no, but man, I was thinking about this the other day, and then we'll get into the story here. We're doing a
Mhm.
scraps episode, people, so just be wary. And some of this is
Scraps.
a little bit of a setup, talking about childhood and
Oh,
just
I can't.
going from
I'm excited.
cool,
I
cool.
like where it's
Because
leading. I'm liking the vibe.
yeah, so the other thing is that I have had a smartphone um for the better part of like 15 years now. And I just think
Mhm.
about myself before that, which was like high school, senior year down. I didn't have a smartphone.
Mhm.
And then I think about myself now and I'm like, could I undo? Could I get back to that? Could I get back to that reality if I got a dumb phone? We have a mutual
Mhm.
friend who has a dumb phone now.
Wait.
Johnny, if he's probably
Oh,
listening.
Johnny has one?
Yeah, he's got a light phone.
Oh, does it like the light phone too?
Mhm.
I had one of those for a little bit of time. Oh
Yeah,
man, dude, we got to be careful because I want to just talk about this the rest because I
that's
love
funny.
analog stuff and minimalizing. But all right, proceed, proceed.
Yeah, no, anyway, I mean, I just think about my brain having been like pickled on smartphones. And early on, even the first 5 years, it wasn't what it is now. Like I still was coasting on, you know, all of human history before that, not having these types of devices hooked to you. I mean, I had a cell phone before that. So, even that's not totally pure. And I could text and drive, but I could text by not looking, by
Hmm.
just clicking the letters
Hmm.
on the keypad of the phone and stuff. Like,
Hmm.
I miss that type of danger.
That type of danger.
Yeah.
Oh man, yeah. Like I was really good at the auto was it called T9 when it would predict the
Yeah.
word?
Mhm.
Okay. Yeah, like I was real good at it, man.
I know.
I
Yeah.
knew you have that muscle memory, you know where the letters
Mhm.
are and you could just I could type a whole thing without looking and it'd be
Yeah.
perfect.
And they'd be simple. For me anyway, they'd be simple messages. It wasn't like because I'm driving. I'm not trying to say something like,
He wrote his first
argue about theology or something.
Zach wrote his first feature on a T9
On the T9 smartphone, a Razor, a Motorola
Yep.
Razor. I wrote my first. I texted it to my friends back in the day. Um, that actually is kind of a funny bit, but anyway.
Mhm.
So the scraps that we have, because you
Mhm.
guys know, you listeners know, we've done scraps episodes before, is where we bring writerly little scraps that fall out of your brain. They don't constitute a full idea, but it's just something that's kind of been in your purse of ideas.
Mhm.
And you just are like, hey, I wish I had some more connective tissue. I wish it had legs,
Mhm.
and that's where we're at. So we're gonna do a scraps episode. I'm gonna bring a scrap today, and my scrap isn't. It's very anemic. There's not a lot going on here, Tommy, but that's what you're here for.
Here to bake it up.
Yep,
Let's do it.
exactly. So I want to tell a story about an anthropomorphic mouse.
Computer mouse or
No, like Stuart Little.
okay. So
And the reason being is because my childhood was defined by several of these types of stories, and they have just gone away. They were kind of like a weird subgenre of fantasy. So we had Stuart Little, you had the mouse and the motorcycle, you had Redwall, which was one of the first like fiction story like chapter books that I read as a kid in
mhm.
fourth grade. Redwall is so cool. It's a
Mhm.
fantasy story about a mouse and he's living in like an abbey. It's so cool. Anyway, and then the rescuers down under, and Charlotte's Web. And
Mhm.
so just that idea of anthropomorphic mice.
Mhm.
I don't know if it was probably like a 70s, 80s thing, and those properties then got adapted in the 90s. And so for whatever reason, 70s and 80s, that was what people people went
That's
after, so.
people wanted a mouse on the motorcycle.
Oh, dude, I loved Mouse and the Motorcycle. So
Oh,
cool.
yeah.
Same with the Indian in the cupboard, man.
Yeah, man. Yeah, that movie was. I need to revisit that because I watched it a lot as a kid, and I think a lot went over
Mhm.
my head at
Oh
the time.
yeah. Same.
But
So that's where we're at. We're just two words: anthropomorphic mouse. If I can even say it while drinking this whiskey sour.
that is no, I like it. I like it. You're right. There was an era where this was very prominent, and I remember watching. I think there were two Stuart Little movies, if I
I think
remember
so. Yeah,
correctly.
I watched the trailer just before we got on for the first one. It gives
Okay.
away the entire movie, and it was definitely an era where you had trailer guys, and so he's like,
Mhm.
I can't even do it, but
In a world.
yeah, like anthropomorphic mice get adopted by a family. And I don't know, it's like sweet and charming, and it's dated in its own way. And obviously, the CGI sucks, but
Does Stuart Little, is he adopted?
Mhm.
He's in an orphanage, and I think I saw something online where people were arguing about this, and I think the books say that he's not a mouse. He is a man. He is a boy that happens to look like a mouse. Which I don't know. You're talking semantics
Oh,
at that point.
interesting. Yeah, that's so true. Like, I'm sure the book probably. I
But
kind of do
we're
remember
talking,
that.
but we're talking mice. We're talking mice that are like people.
Yes.
And all right, first off, it's funny because whenever you bring me a scrap, then I do come to you like you've got all the answers. Like, is this
Yeah.
right, Zach? Because I was going to ask, do we want something more Stuart Little where people know that the mouse exists? The mouse is part of everyday life, or is it more Mouse and the Motorcycle where the mouse is in hiding, but it's very human-like in how they
Hmm.
behave? Because those are just very different stories. And
That's true.
maybe it's up to me to decide. Maybe
Yeah.
it's up
I mean,
to
one, it sounds like the Mouse and the Motorcycle type lore is that the mouse is the main character. I mean, they're both Stuart Little's the main character, I guess, too.
yeah.
But it has more of a mouse centric point of view as opposed to a human centric point of view,
Yeah.
which would be like, yeah. I mean, in Redwall, they're all animals, so it's just
Okay.
you know,
Yeah,
you,
I think yeah, no, there's a lot to explore here because if it involves people, I think naturally the story has to be the mouse doesn't fit in. Yeah, because Mouse on the Motorcycle and Stuart Little
Mhm.
both deal with that. Stuart Little less like he's obviously accept people recognize he's
Stuart
there.
wears clothes,
He
so
wears clothes. That means you have to accept him,
it's
but
usually
he is
usually the
part
kids.
of a society. But maybe I honestly can't remember exactly the plot of what Stuart Little like. What does he do? Like, what is the point? Is he just living life? What is the
I don't remember the
big
book, but I
plot?
remember the movie.
Yeah.
Again, I just watched the trailer, and so he gets adopted. He's like, "Oh man, I don't really fit in." His brother doesn't like him. Jonathan Lipnicki, big early 2000s, late 90s kid, actor,
Mhm.
and he's like, "Oh, you're not my brother," whatever. Which the kid calls out his family, rightfully so. He's like, "You guys are weird. You adopted a mouse. Like you could have adopted a child. Like this doesn't make sense," and it really doesn't make sense.
Mhm.
So that's kind of like scary in a weird way from the kid's perspective, where the family's just willing to overlook this whole thing. And I don't know.
Yeah.
Especially in an era where I don't know about you, this is a little bit of a hot take, just a little
A
bit. I
little
don't think
bit.
it's an edited out hot take like Tommy's afraid of, but just that a lot of people treat their pets like babies, like animal, like humans.
Yeah. Yeah.
I just think that's the based son in Stuart Little is like, you idiots, what are you doing? They're not human. They're not equal. Like, and the parents are just like, like Gen Zers are just like, nah, man, our dog is our baby. This mouse is our baby. But yeah, it's basically dealing with that tension, between the brother and him. And eventually, like, fake parents show up to take him home,
Mhm.
and they're just there for some sort of scammy reason. They're not actually his parents, and so he runs away.
Is
And
yeah. Are they trying to make money on a talking mouse or something, or is
well,
that?
they are talking mice. Like the mice parents show up.
Oh, then okay, yeah. This world is buck wild. I do not
I
remember
know, I
Stuart
know,
Little. That
I
there's like
know.
talking mice that
Oh, dude.
fake
Also,
pretend.
Mouse Hunt.
Mouse Hunt. Well, Mouse Hunt's funny because it's a very smart mouse, but it's not necessarily personified. Or
No,
yeah,
like it's not
it's not a
anthropomorphic.
yeah. It
Yeah.
doesn't speak. It doesn't talk. We don't get a clear intention. It clearly just wants cheese. It just outsmarts these men.
Yes. which is funny in its own way.
There was a lot of mouse content back in the day, man.
Even the borrowers is like mouse adjacent. You know, like humans that live in a mouse hole. They're like tiny.
Yeah.
Very like early John Goodman exposure for me. Very good performance on his part.
I'm going to throw something out that's wild, and you can veto it. You can completely veto it if you want, because I'm trying to like think what can we do that's different? What's different? Anthropomorphized mouse that is human sized.
So he's just a rat. He's at that point. He's a rat.
He's like, could you imagine someone my size that was just a mouse in clothes, like living life or something, like Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, but with a big mouse?
That's true. Yeah, because that's actually another one. Is that Splinter is
a rat. He's like a big rat,
straight up, and a really good puppet in the movies in the 90s. So, the 90s kids landscape is replete with anthropomorphized mice.
Yeah.
And I think it's because people identify with mice because it's usually the Tom and Jerry thing where it's like the cat and the mouse.
Well, mouse is the nature's underdog, kind of. It's the thing you want to root for because it's the smallest, weakest little thing.
Yeah.
And plus they make them very cute in movies. And they're cute in real life, I guess, but not when they're loose in your house.
And not when they're unneutered and they just have like their giant rat sacks. You know what I mean? You go to the like Petco and you're like, Mom, let's go look at the rats. You're over there and you're like, whoa.
You're like, is it okay?
Yeah.
Is it okay?
It's giving birth. No, it's not. Yeah. So, I mean, I could definitely get on with a mouse as a pet. For sure. More than I've had some wild pets in my days. And
we could do something. I think this is something that's semi-modern because I think Leo, the class pet, the lizard. Have you heard of that? It's like a Pixar or animated something. I know very little about it, but
clearly,
but it's like a class pet lizard that the kids would take turns taking home, and then the lizard would talk to them. Because it could talk secretly, and the kids would be like, cool. And this is all like secondhand hearsay, but I think this is how it goes. I think at some point, one of the kids narcs on the lizard and it's like, this lizard can talk. And then the lizard is banished from the school. I don't know, something like that. But I think something like that, where you have this mouse that can secretly talk to maybe a distinct person or to multiple people. But it's not like it's not Stuart Little where everyone knows Stuart Little talks and he's a human. Here's something. What if the mouse is not cute? What if the mouse is
ugly?
Like Billy's like a 12-year-old boy going through, like, doesn't have a lot of friends. His parents get him a mouse and it's like, oh, it's so cute, whatever. And then the mouse is like, hey, Billy, let me tell you something. And it's just this like gruff character.
That's
because
cool.
We don't see that much. Where
that's true. Like a streetwise
mouse that teaches them how to
like be tough and
maybe the mouse is in the windowsill.
Here comes the remasculation plot.
Can you remasculate a 12-year-old boy? I think that's initial
coming of age. That's just coming of age. Having listened to what just released. A previous owner, we had that exact line.
It's funny because I just listened to that today and I thought of that exactly. It's either coming of age or it's a remasculator,
which is fine.
You can't blame us because it's not even just, it's something we revisit a lot, but it's a natural story.
Yeah.
It's a natural story of someone becoming more adult and more mature, or it's someone who's lost that in their adulthood who has to reclaim it. Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm
on the same page. I think to shake it up, well, this is actually really maybe not a remasculator plot. If we keep the, Danny DeVito mouse, that's one thing. But if you just have it be like an older guy or an older woman is talking to the mouse, that's kind of interesting. Like literally like a Petco employee woman who's just had like a rough life. And this is just, she takes care of the mice and he's just like, yo, can I get a pair of pants?
I like that. Keeping it in that. Well, would she bring this mouse home, or would it always just live?
I think she would. That's a good idea. I don't know. I think she would probably bring it home eventually, but maybe
bring home.
He can have some misadventures in the
I like that where it's not because it feels like whimsical
Hmm.
when you do the kid and the pet.
Yeah.
But if it's a woman in her 40s who works at the Petco, and then the mouse late night she's cleaning up because someone spilled something, and then the mouse starts talking to her.
Hmm.
I don't know how. Hey Toots, could you
Yeah.
get me?
I don't
Could you
know if
get
he
a
would
guy?
be.
Or maybe
Yeah.
he's not that. But I do like him not being innocent and well,
Yeah.
innocent's fine, but not just delicate. He is
Yes.
rougher around the edges, and just kind of a wiser street cred
Yeah.
mouse.
I like that a lot. I think one thing that I like to visit in my own storytelling in my own time is okay, tell a new story after a story that we know really well has ended. So
Mm-hmm.
I wrote a western a few years ago that basically takes the place after like a whole other movie happens.
Mm-hmm.
So like western tropes, and I just like decided to continue like what happens after this guy rides off into the sunset with the bad guy strapped to the back of his horse. It's
Mm-hmm.
like a whole other adventure happens. And so what if we did this whole thing, and I know we're in like a little bit of comedic territory here, so we can get away with it a little bit. But
Mm-hmm.
like, let's say we open up on a Stuart Little type situation where it's like just Stuart Little years down the road, and he's like he lives an unnaturally long life for a mouse,
Mm-hmm.
so he's not like dead in 5 years or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
But he's like living with the elderly parents, and then they die, and so then the like people pick him up and they take him to animal control or whatever, and he just ends up back in the population. So he goes from being a like cushy house mouse
Mm-hmm.
to having like go back out to the street. And so that flips a little bit what you were trying to set up with him being gruff or whatever. But
Yeah.
it's like it's more about him being like he's the main character and he's really finding he's the being remasculated,
Yeah, he's
his true
yeah, I
nature.
like that. It makes me that's wild if a mouse son lived with his parents for the entirety of their lives and then got sent to Petco afterwards. But it kind of reaches into that teddy
A little
bear
bit,
thing
yes,
where
yeah,
it's like, does the government just classify you as a pet? You were their pet
yes,
compared to you were their son or whatever. Because I think that's really interesting and it's kind of sad to have a grieving mouse son
mm-hmm,
or adult mouse son. Uh, both are interesting to me if he goes to the Petco or animal control or if he doesn't. Like if he just had a
yeah,
full on grieving family drama, but the main character just happens to be this sad mouse.
yeah.
He's like, Sharon, it's just so tough. And he's married to a human
It's like
woman.
yeah, yeah. That's funny. I do like it's like Manchester by the Sea, but with a mouse. So it's like
Yeah.
sad Casey Affleck, but if he's just a mouse the whole time, like replace everything is the exact same. It's like have you seen Manchester by the Sea?
I'm not, but I know that the vibe of it, it's this kind
Very
of
sad.
very
Yes,
sad
it's
movie.
very sad. And yeah, I mean, it's just a little drama or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, just this idea that he's like totally destroyed. And that's funny, like watching this mouse.
It,
Um,
what if it's like several years? Man, this is definitely a remasculator story if we ever told one and it's with a mouse. But I just imagine he's like, my parents died. My wife left me. Just like all
yeah.
this stuff happens to him. And it's him. That's such a wild idea. I don't know if will people take it? I think people will take it
Yeah, I
seriously.
think you have to take it seriously, in terms of like you treat him like a normal character.
Yeah.
But it's just obviously you have crazy things happen to him because he's a mouse. But I think the Manchester by the Sea meets Stuart Little kind of writes itself.
I think
Um,
that's interesting. So do we just want to leave it with the parents pass away? Do we want to do it like he
we could
goes
do
through a
it.
divorce too?
Sure, we could just add that to like he had moved back home because of the divorce.
Can his name be Stewie Big?
I was just thinking Stuart Big. No, it can't be Stuart Big.
It gotta be Stuart Big. It's gotta be.
It's got to be Stuart
No,
Big.
no, it doesn't have to be
Um,
Stuart Big, but I do think it's even a movie like this could even allude to it at the beginning. Where it's like, hey, you might have heard of Stuart Little. There's more of us out there, and we don't always get a happily ever after.
Yeah,
Something
exactly.
like that.
Exactly. I like that a lot. And so yeah, I think he could be, or we could play with the idea that it's a female mouse
Uh,
too.
Yeah, but
Just
now
like real quick, I know you're really married to it now. I am too. I just like,
I know,
you
I
know me,
know,
you
I
know
know.
me.
Sometimes we can't always avoid the remasculator, though. Sometimes we got to
That's
dive
fair.
in.
That's
Can he
fair.
be Gavin?
Gavin sounds like Gavin Newsom, the governor of
That's only because
California.
you know who that is. I don't know who that
Yeah.
is.
Well, that's unfortunate because he's a
Oh,
slime ball.
oh.
So I would avoid. I mean, it kind of fits, I guess, depending on how
What about
beat up he is. Um,
Rick?
Rick, well, because we're in the end of the pool of like Frank, like the pug from Men in Black, and a couple of other things where you have like kind of a gruff name.
Yeah,
Um, I don't know. I got to think about it for a second because I do think the
Hank.
name
I'm just throwing stuff out until
you were
stuff
throwing. Yeah, you're
sticks.
fine. Yeah. Give me something like Cadby. You came up with Cadby. I
Oh,
feel like that kind of name.
okay, like a unique name.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, Denson.
Denson. I'm getting real regular show vibes, which is actually not a bad
Oh,
thing.
that's Benson. Oh man, yeah,
Yeah.
you're right. Benson.
Yeah. Okay.
Oh, go. I'm
Yeah.
doing
Mordecai
Benson.
and Rigby. Rigby would be like perfect.
Uh, yeah, Rigby.
I'm a big regular show fan. I didn't realize that until like about 6 months ago.
I like regular
Um,
show a lot, man. I didn't see all of the end of it, which seemed like it was more canonical than the rest of it, but
yeah.
it's a really good adult cartoon that's not an adult cartoon, if you know what I
Yes.
mean.
Yeah. I don't even know how I'd seen most of it. I had already like graduated high school and was just doing my thing. And so yeah, just like coming around to it. Have you ever seen Over the Garden Wall?
No, but it's on my list. I've heard, is it one or two seasons?
It's just one. It's just like a mini
I've
series.
heard the music's great, and I've heard that the story is
The
really
acting is
cool.
amazing. It's everything is firing on full cylinders. But just that level of animation, which we could even talk about it being animated, that would actually be kind of
Ooh,
cool. We've not done an animated story yet,
I think that'd
and
be
this seems
cool.
to.
Plus, to do an animated adult story, because it sounds like it's more of an adult. This is not necessarily like a kid's. It
Yeah,
could
I would say
be,
so. I
maybe,
think it's
but
for our generation, where it's
yeah,
like, yeah, of course, like it could appeal to a
we
child.
we grew up on the mouse
Yeah, you're just
movies.
meeting them where we are at now. Like
Hmm.
it's, we were just further on in his story. People try and do that. They take properties and they update them to be like really relevant to the people who originally fell in love with them. They grow up with them. And I'm okay with that with this. Let me, uh, let's see. I'm going to put my little thinking cap on here for a
Oh, we can
second.
come back to his name if we need to, because we do need
Well,
to.
his name is definitely the name of the movie. So I think there's a little bit of time spent doing that.
Ralphie.
Isn't Ralph
Uh,
the name of the us on the motorcycle?
oh, is it? That might
Yeah.
be right, or maybe that's the boy's name. That's someone's name, and uh,
Um,
Clint.
Clint. Yeah, followed by Runaway Ralph. Yeah, so that is the sequel
Oh,
to
it
the
is. Oh,
boy.
you're
To
right. You're
the
right. You're right.
look at I pulled that out of my childhood butt, dude.
When
I
you
had
said it,
no
I
idea.
agreed. I was like, I think you're right. His name is Ralph, isn't it?
um,
I love it when he straps the little aspirin to his motorcycle and drives off with it and
yeah,
saves the
dude.
boy.
Dude, yeah. Uh, what if his name was? I'm looking up like things associated with it, so we can get like a callback going. Um, Beverly Cleary was the one who wrote the mouse and the motorcycle. Um, let's see,
Woody.
Woody,
Um,
like Woody from Toy Story.
just because a name exists somewhere else doesn't mean we can't use it, Zach.
That's fair. That's fair. I
There's like
just,
a billion names.
um,
Um,
what if we? I mean, honestly, what if we went with
Melvin.
Melvin? Is okay. Melvin seems a little obvious. I'm being nitpicky, but
All right. All right. I'm gonna keep on. I'm gonna Vinny.
well, give me a second. I want to spit out a name. So Beverly Cleary wrote the book, The Mouse and the Motorcycle. What if his name was Cleary?
Cleary. How do you spell that?
Like the word clear with a Y on the end.
Okay. His name can be Cleary.
Or Beverly.
Yeah. Cleary's
Or,
kind of a unique name. Like I don't hear that a lot.
yeah, same. Uh,
Cleary. Cleary.
it's a little like Cadby, like
Yeah.
it's a little on that end. So I'm kind of trying to attach it to that. But
Does he have a last name? Is that important?
Jones.
I like it. Cleary Jones.
Yeah.
Sounds like he's going to solve some mysteries.
Yeah, that's true. Well, cool. Perfect. It has a little bit of the, what's her name? The girl detective, Nancy Drew.
Yep. Yeah. Cleary Jones and Nancy Drew.
Yeah.
One's a depressed rat or depressed mouse, and one's a little girl who solves mysteries.
Cool.
All
So
right,
we got Cleary Jones. He's somehow ends up at the pet store, right? That's what we're aiming for.
Yeah, so we need to. I'm looking at my story circle over here. I think we need to establish some you and need. What is his story? What is he about? And what is the thing he needs at the beginning of the story? So maybe he does. Um, uh, Maybe his parents pass away, and he's grieving. I think him grieving at the beginning of this is important. And then maybe he gets a notice from the government where they say, "Hey, your parents left you this house, but you can't own that. You're a mouse.
Yeah.
You're not allowed to own that." And then he's like, "What?" And
his lawyer tells him in the beginning.
Yeah. And do you want him to be forced into some sort of pet thing, or do you want him just to be down on his luck, kind of just
I think we can get to the pet thing. Or maybe he falls in love with a mouse who's then captured, and then taken. He's got to rescue her from the pet store. And at first thing, he just walks in there and try to buy her. And that doesn't work. Like his first
tries to buy another mouse that's also intelligent. Yeah, I like the idea of him not, because there's a few jokes that I think would be really funny of he's losing everything and he can't hold an apartment, but he has adult guy friends, and some of the lesser good guy friends, he calls them up and he's like, "Guys, I really need a place to stay." And he's like, "Oh man, I'm sorry. We just don't have the room right now." He's like, "What do you mean you don't have the room? I'm a mouse.
We just got a cat, man. We can't. We got a cat.
We got a cat." And I just imagine him at the bar drinking with his friend, but he just has a little thimble or something.
I love that.
Little things like that. Just adult Stuart Little, basically.
Yeah, Cleary. And he's just like doing his thing,
I do like the image of one of his good guy friends does let him stay. Like he's got like a pillow propped up.
But the guy's like in a worse spot than he is. I feel like is probably the way to get him out.
Yeah, they're both on hard times.
Yeah,
and they're both kind of roommates.
He's the one friend who like never grew up, kind of thing in the circle, the human friend.
What job could Cleary have? I imagine something remote, maybe.
Yeah, something on the phone. Maybe he's a teacher for like a college.
He does like virtual stuff. That'd be kind of cool.
His little avatar is like a mouse. He's never on screen, but they just show it or whatever. And
you just see his board. Nobody knows he's a mouse.
Yeah, and they're like,
you have a mouse teaching my kid.
Yeah, I like that. I don't know what he would teach. Probably like literature or something.
Yeah, I like him being smart. I like him being intellectual and smart. And
then maybe it's like philosophy or something. Like he's a philosophy teacher. And he just teaches like at a community college. It's not like he does anything crazy.
Yeah.
He just.
So what does he need though? He loses out. He's kind of kicked out of house and inheritance and stuff, and he's rooming with his buddy. He's also doing bad.
Was he married beforehand? Because I think we talked about that, or I think we allow him to find a new family. Would be the thing. Yeah, like maybe the bad roommate is his brother. Yeah, like his adopted, brother, his stepbrother, I guess.
And then adopted. And then the brother gets the inheritance.
And he's like squandering it. He's like not a good guy, basically.
Yeah. Okay, so right now we got the brother, we got the good roommate. Because I think who he's staying with is a good roommate. Or he's just not on a good.
Actually, I think the brother should have died in the past. I think
like before the parents?
Yeah, that's a sweeter thing where it's like he just took care of the old parents until they died.
Yeah.
And like you have a little mouse like holding the old lady's hand on her deathbed.
That's very cute. That's very cute. Just holding the hand. Then at that case, he's not divorced because I think
that makes me root for him too.
Yeah, he's too sweet, and I think also that's the reason that he never got in the dating scene because he was caring for his parents or something.
Yeah, they took the better part of his like middle age. Just imagine if he's a human character. Like
Yeah.
his parents were older when they had him, and so
There were times where I had to lift my father into the bed, and
yeah,
that was
exactly.
wild.
Yeah, yeah. I think that's funny.
But then, yeah, and then I imagine he's in the inheritance, and we can decide if we want to linger on that, if that's a plot point. I think that does really it's kicking you while you're down, and then
mhm,
he's with the friend, and the friend says, "Hey, maybe you just got to get out there. You got to live your life now. You're a
mhm.
bachelor." Because I do think a little montage of him going on
Like
Tinder
Tinder
dates
dates.
with
We
like
just said it at the
human
same
women,
time.
like they're like
Yeah,
at the bars and stuff, seems
yeah,
really funny.
yeah. And they're all like snobs. They're all like, "Oh, you're not over 6 feet," you know?
You're not even close. You're not
Yeah,
even over six
6 inches.
inches.
Yeah. He's just like, but I'm a good guy. I'm educated, you know? Yeah. He struggles through all of that, like modern dating type stuff. And,
Yeah.
they're like, how old are you? You know, they ask him and he's just
Yeah.
like, I don't know.
It's funny that all of these women, these are the questions and the things that are not the fact that he's a mouse.
Oh yeah, of course not.
Is the love, I think this is a love interest story. Is the love interest another mouse?
I would
I
think
think
so. That
I
makes
think
the
that
most
makes,
sense.
yeah, where he finds another intelligent mouse, which is fun, is kind of cool if he finds her out in the wild. It's
Yeah.
one thing if he goes to try to free her, but
Hmm.
I think that in this world of humans, and we only see Cleary, him going to the bank or something,
Yeah.
or going to a party, and then there's one other female
Mouse.
mouse
Yeah.
there, and
And they
she's
initially don't like each other, you know, of course, because that's the story is that the two fat people fall in love, you
no,
know, that's kind of their view of it.
I've got something that I think is funny.
Well, so do
Because
I. So do I. Go ahead.
no, but mine's funnier though.
Okay, that's fair.
Okay, well, you hear mine, I'll hear yours, and we'll decide which way we want to
Okay,
go.
cool. Okay.
Because maybe we go a what if style with Daniel Radcliffe. I don't know if you've seen that. It's a rom com,
Mm-mm.
but they click. But she's dating someone who is this broy human dude. Like she
Mm,
is actively dating this guy, but then they click way better than them. But
gotcha.
she's in this committed relationship where, oh yeah, no. And then I think that's like a fun twist of that
That is.
story where then the three of them, she's like, we should meet up with Cleary. And it's just two mice and one dude, like one frat bro.
Yeah, that is funny. That
He's
is
like,
funny.
babe, I'm gonna go play at the arcade. I'm gonna play at the arcade. You got any quarters? And she hands him like one big quarter.
Yeah. Yeah, I do.
But tell me your idea. Tell me your
So
idea.
okay, so my idea was that they meet each other. They
Mhm.
eventually get to like each other. I do think there's a period where they don't, but she's like they go off and meet the parents, kind of thing. And um, her parents are like country mice, and so they're naked. They don't talk, or
Mhm.
they can only talk rat or mouse or whatever.
Mhm.
And so they go out, and that's just an interesting thing where it's like there's this socialite mouse, this city mouse,
Mhm.
who is Stuart Little's Cleary, wears clothes, and so does she. But like when she goes out there, you know, she's trying to get him in touch, or it's part of that is like getting in
She
touch with
takes
like,
off her clothes when she goes
yeah,
to the country, and he's like, "Whoa."
yeah, yeah. He's a modest mouse.
He's a modest mouse. Oh, and all of the soundtrack is by
It's
Modest
done by
Mouse.
Modest Mouse. Yeah, yeah. Float on is the theme song for sure.
Yep.
Um,
I think
but
that's kind of cool. I like the idea of the country mice, and I do like the boyfriend too, but I feel like the country mice is different. I've not seen
mhm.
that, you know?
Well, yeah, that's
Where
my point. Is like you kind of pull that into it, like you expand on that mouse lore a little bit, and
Mhm.
maybe they can talk. Like they don't need to be like dumb or anything, but you just get this idea where it's like, yeah, we don't need to wear clothes. Like, why would I do that?
Yeah, we're mice.
Yeah,
We don't wear clothes.
that's yeah, yeah. I don't know. I think that's kind of interesting, and
I like it.
um,
I like that direction.
you know, or you take the Stuart Little thing, and he starts dating a human woman, and she takes him home to meet her parents, and she's a
Who are mice?
who, yeah, I was just thinking that like you get real crazy, but no, like you just play with the guess who's coming to dinner thing, where it's the same kind of story, but
Man,
he's an adult now.
there's like
There's so
four
many.
different stories that we can take this one
I
mouse
know.
story.
I do like the sad, like he's seen his dementia-ridden parents off into the afterlife, and now he's just alone. He gets cut out of the will, or legally is not allowed to take the money, so
Mhm.
he's like couch surfing, um, and yeah, maybe he gets a job at Petco.
And he gets the job of Heckel. And then where does that lead?
Well, that's where he finds the other mouse.
Does she work there or is she trapped
I
there?
think she's trapped there. Although I like the Tinder thing. Although it
I
doesn't really
think
matter how they meet. Like,
I think I'm torn on that direction because if you have one hyper intelligent mouse working for you and you have one in the cage and someone's like, I don't know the difference. Like it's like
I
it
know,
feels a
I
little
know.
weird.
But I do
Um,
like, well, if they could, I like the idea, the image of him being a hyper intelligent mouse working at Petco is really interesting because it's like pulling it right into the forefront of what is dumb and like funny and fantastical
that's
about the
true.
idea.
Yeah.
Um, and so like, maybe one of the mice that's pulled in to feed the boa constrictor or something like that is a smart mouse.
Hmm.
And maybe not everybody can hear them, so it's like only, you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
he can speak mouse, but maybe not everybody else can. And so he's like, no, like that one is, I don't know. I think that's like he's in charge of feeding another mouse. That's dark and cool. You got to
This
feed
was
the
a smart
boa.
mouth. That's super dark, man. That's super. That's like kicking him. It's like kicking him while he's dead. Like
That's
all this
true.
bad stuff happens, and then it's like feed your kin to this snake now.
But it is
Um,
about him like getting out and like, you know,
yeah,
like
I,
finding his adult life
yeah.
basically.
We still need to find the need of which I think what he
Yes.
needs is to figure out um how how does he live life now that he's got his own life to live
Hmm.
a little bit, which is not exactly the classic movie need because usually the movie need is something that's they think they need, but that is actually what he needs. But
Yeah.
maybe what his path forward is incorrect. Cause yeah,
Hmm.
it's a tricky one, man.
Well, because think treat him like a human character. I think is the thing, and he's got to be reconnected. He thinks he needs, um, whatever it might be, and maybe the brother isn't dead. This might help. Maybe the brother isn't dead. Maybe he's like a drug addict somewhere, and he's trying to reconnect with his brother because he's the only family he has left now.
Maybe yeah, maybe what if his need is this level of codependency because
Mm,
he needed the parents that he only exists as a
uh,
unit
yeah.
and he's trying to fulfill the other half of the unit. I think that's the flaw is that's what he thinks he needs
Hmm.
and he goes searching for that in dating and his brother and whatever. Not dating his brother, in dating
Yeah, yeah,
or in
yeah.
his brother's.
He's feeding other mice to boa constrictors. He's
Yeah.
dating his brother.
But then I think the story is when we get cutting to the end of the story circle, he learns that he is his own person.
Hmm.
He has his own identity
Yeah,
outside of other people, outside of, he's not just the mouse that is with these people. He
yeah,
is his own person.
yeah.
So I think that's the direction we need to go. So then I think he needs to chase after the go. Like he thinks he needs someone else. His parents are gone. He doesn't know how to exist by himself. Do you
Mm.
think he immediately runs to dating? Do you think he tries to track down his brother who is somewhere that he needs to track
I
down?
think he can try and track down his brother, and it doesn't initially go anywhere. Maybe tries to call him or whatever, and the line is,
Hmm.
is dead or whatever, and or maybe sends him a text, and it just doesn't, nothing ever comes of it. Basically,
Hmm.
leaves him a voicemail, and then we can come back and revisit that where he shows up. I just thought of a funny sequence where a group of vegans show up to the Petco,
Hmm.
and they like are trying to release the animals or whatever.
Hmm.
And I just think that one of the vegans and him going on a date is interesting.
I think that's one of the most interesting things. We got some like B movie
Oh, I'm
the
all
B
about
movie
this.
with
Yeah.
Jerry Seinfeld, where
Yes,
it's like
yes,
the
I
bee
know. I
wants to
know what
date
you
the
mean.
human.
I thought of that earlier. I'm like, yeah, we got some B movie stuff going on. But yeah, I like that. I think that's interesting. It's a way to pull in some like, you know, like modern satire a little bit with these people who are like hyper vegan,
Mhm.
and they end up like kind of worshiping him, you know, and he's eating whatever he wants. I think, and she eventually breaks up with him for eating like chicken or something.
That tying back to the codependency, what he was dependent on other people. These people who somewhat worship him, he
Hmm.
realizes they're dependent on him, and maybe that's his later on his eye-opening thing of,
Mm,
oh, maybe this isn't good. Or he realizes when he sees other people doing it, it's not good, but he realizes he has always been doing the same thing.
yeah,
And that's kind of his come to Jesus moment of, oh, wait, I don't have to exist just as a set of something else,
yeah.
potentially. I like the idea of him going on these human dates is really funny to me.
Hmm.
Like they're like peanuts for the table, and he just has one, and he's
Yeah.
just chewing on one peanut the entire night.
Yeah, you eat for free, basically.
Yeah.
No, I like that a lot. I think a couple of ideas off the top of my head. He should
Mhm.
be voiced by Zach Braff.
Oh,
Um,
okay.
for whatever reason, that just popped in my head, and I'm like, I like this. It has a little Garden State kind of indie film vibe, and I think that
Hmm.
could really work. But also, he could maybe make money off of a Bitcoin thing, because
Hmm.
I'm thinking about he can't carry money around. He can't even
Hmm.
carry a credit card around.
Hmm.
But he could somehow like have some sort. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
he has like a scam coin, not a scam coin, but you know what I mean. That maybe that's something that he kind of like dabbles in on the side that eventually takes off.
Hmm.
You know, is Cleary coin, or whatever. I don't know. I'm trying to make it modern, like feel
Yeah.
really, really modern with the
Yeah.
vegans. Um,
He invents a crypto mouse coin
yeah,
or
mouse
something.
coin. Yeah. It's called mice or whatever. I don't know.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think him eventually finding another mouse, and really coming to his own identity where he's like, I am. The thing about the mouse to mouse relationship though is it is leaning into the collective identity again, where he says like, I am not like, I am part of mouse kind.
Yeah. Maybe he doesn't match up with somebody at the end. Maybe that he just
Yeah.
stays independent, and he's okay with that for this season of life, where because that's what he learns. He doesn't have to be connected. He has friends and he has family and stuff, and maybe there is a female mouse character, but that's not the goal of, oh, we
Totally.
gotta match them
I
up.
honestly think it's a comedy, but it's more of like Alexander Payne holdovers, dark comedy kind
Hmm.
of thing that had a really good plot to it.
Hmm.
And I think if we could find something along those lines, it'd be great.
Hmm.
But also, I'm down for it to be more of like a Manchester by the Sea, where we're just examining this kind of slice of life
Hmm.
of this stage that he's in,
Hmm.
and then we bring it to some emotional resonance at the end, where like the brother shows up.
Hmm.
Um, you know what I mean? Like,
Hmm.
and that kind of brings it to the end where it's like he's trying to deal with the fact the mouse Cleary is trying to deal with the fact that his parents are gone, you know, and so
Hmm.
he's trying to cope with that some way, drinking and you know, womanizing, and at the end he realizes like, you know, he should, um, do you know what I'm kind of reaching for? Like,
Yeah. What womanizing is really
I know,
funny because
I
it's
said that
just
word
like
in it, and it took me on a whole mind path.
it's just like him in bed smoking a
Yeah,
cigarette.
one big cigarette. He's
Yeah,
vaping. He's
but
vaping.
to be honest, I probably would watch. That sounds so interesting to me of a pure drama. Nothing
Yeah.
about it is really comedy besides the fact that he's a mouse. Like there's
Yes.
natural comedy in that, but it's all played like a real drama of this guy Cleary, who's going through a tough time in this section, the season of life. And yeah, it will be funny because he's eating a peanut on a date,
Yeah.
and there's all these things, but we're not. I think the fact of not drawing your attention to that, not trying to make a joke out of it,
Mm-mm.
and just making it a drama, it'll be funny, but also digestible because you're just watching the sad mouse trying to figure out this section of life and
Yeah.
get through it.
I think
And
that's really compelling, like just as a trailer in my mind. And all of these little episodes, you know, can just be strung together. Again, we have the emotional beat at the end where the brother shows up and it kind of helps him put to rest some of his
mhm,
feelings about his family.
mhm,
Um, it's like helps him let go basically of his family and then move on,
Hmm.
is the thing. So like he thought he needed to, find a new relationship or whatever, when in reality he just needed his brother to be there with him, um, and I don't know, like remind him who he is. I think that's kind of interesting too. Is like he gets lost about who he is. Like he spent so much time taking care of them
Hmm.
that he then kind of gets back in the world, and then he realizes he really is like he loosens his tie, so to speak, and he
Yeah.
realizes he actually is a modest mouse after all.
Hmm.
And like kind of puts the clothes back on.
Hmm.
Like he joins the other mouse girl, and she's like a nudist with her family, and they're all running around in the woods naked, and he's like, "This isn't me."
Hmm.
I think that's interesting.
Yeah.
You know,
I like this scene of closing it up where he went to go find his brother. His brother was not really having much to do with him, but then by the end of the movie, the brother comes back and has this kind of
maybe he's sober now.
the brother.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, maybe. I feel like if the brother's not doing great and Cleary's not doing it, or maybe they're both not doing
I
great,
got it.
but
I got it. I got it. I got it. I got it. So go ahead. You were going to say something.
I was just gonna say the brother comes back at the end because he's like, "You're my brother. I'm gonna come back here." And when he's at his lowest low, he's like, You're a good mouse, and you're gonna get through this, and you're gonna figure it out." It like encourages him, and then Clear's like, "Should I come stay with you?" He's like, "No, man, you shouldn't. Like you." Because it's not good for you. It's that Ben Affleck in Good Will Hunting where
Mm,
one day I hope that I don't see you because it
yeah,
means you've moved on to something better. That kind of vibe
that's
where
cool.
it's like
Yeah,
that tough love where his brother comes back for him to encourage him, but he's not there to pick him up and bring him home. He's
yeah,
there to say, "You can do this. And you
yeah,
don't need our parents, and you don't need some floozy you meet at the bar, and you don't need
yeah,
me. You've got this on your own." I think that is a cool closing to and
yeah.
even if we don't see that, like we see him like
I think the
get the
promise is
gumption
that
and
he's
move.
going to find his real family,
Hmm.
essentially. Like he's good, and the idea is that maybe they didn't adopt him, he adopted them.
Hmm.
And now that they're gone, he feels like he has no more whatever.
Hmm.
And his brother, yeah, is like, you need to leave the home, basically. And maybe the whole thing is like he's been living in the walls of the home after like some other family moves in.
That's interesting. I like that.
Uh, and so there's a whole like funny thing there where he's like pretending to be a not smart mouse. That
Yeah.
actually feels like a totally different movie, but might be like the central chunk that we were missing, where it's like so they could get, it could be like a little girl and all
Hmm.
that kind of stuff, and he comes down and talks to her and
Hmm.
whatever, and it's like, but he's like a mouse who's got problems now, like his family's dead and this family
Hmm.
doesn't want him, he's just a pest now.
Hmm.
I think that's really strong.
I think having that beat in the middle of he comes and talks to this little girl
Hmm.
who maybe sympathizes with him, but then at the end he realizes he's a ghost in this house,
Hmm.
basically. He's lingering when there's nothing here for him anymore.
Yeah,
I think that's interesting. And then I still like the stuff with his brother coming back, and you get that Goodwill Hunting where you get the trajectory. He kind of picks his chin up and he goes somewhere and he's heading off somewhere, and we don't see where he heads off. We just see that he's
yeah,
determined to make his own way forward.
I like that a lot. I like that a lot. I was going to say that the alternative plot, making it more in Manchester by the Sea, is that the drug addict brother, the Jonathan Lipnicki, is grown up and he's just totally effed up now. That he accidentally kills the parents. Like
Mm.
because in this is a spoiler alert from Manchester by the Sea, but
Cover your ears, folks, if you don't want to hear it.
yeah, if you don't want to hear it, Casey Affleck's character, I think he gets drunk and he goes out for like a walk or goes to the store to get something, and uh, he like lights a fire before he leaves, and a log rolls out of the fire and like burns down his house and kills like his family basically.
Mm.
And he feels just obviously terrible about it. But that character is the brother, and so
Mm.
he's effed up, and the whole story is about him having to forgive his brother. And like, no, you are the only family I have, though. So I can't like, as the adopted mouse, there's nowhere else for me to go. And then his brother at the end saying like, like leave me behind, dude. Like,
Mm.
I think that's an interesting tension. I think he would be the modest like Christian mouse that would be like, no, I do forgive you. Like he eventually does forgive him.
Hmm.
Um, but do you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah. I think
He could literally break into the jail as a mouse.
and
That
talk
would
to
be
his
legit.
brother.
Yes, that would be legit.
That's pretty cool.
These
And
are
yeah.
so good ideas. Like I like him living in the house and the little girl doesn't know he's there. I think that still works in the story,
Mhm.
and the little girl.
All of it adds up to a very sad story because this mouse just is not moving forward. He's living in the same house with a different family. He's going to visit his brother in jail. I don't know I think I like the brother in jail, but I don't know if him being the cause of the parents' death.
That's fair.
I'm on the fence just because one, it might be way too close to Manchester as
Oh,
we.
maybe. I feel like we have completely separated it.
I guess it is a mouse. It is a mouse.
And how he does it, it doesn't have to be like the house burns down. Like, it could be something else, like how he acts.
I like the idea of forgiveness being a big theme, of codependency, overcoming that being a big theme, of self,
like actualization,
like believing in yourself a little bit more, like not thinking you're
confidence.
Confidence. I like it, man. I think it's it's definitely a weird drama. As far as the title goes, are we thinking Cleary Jones, or do we want to call
something like Mouse on the Motorcycle?
I don't know. I was thinking something like something with Cleary's name, like Cleary makes it through, or Cleary.
Okay.
Cleary's trials, or something like that.
Yeah.
Or the trial.
I get what you're saying. I think it could be like a phrase because you like Bo is afraid.
Yeah, Bo is afraid.
It's like that kind of thing.
Cleary is a mouse.
Clearly, he's a mouse. But yeah, I do like Cleary Jones is like your classic because it's about him like figuring himself out kind of thing. Post his parents. And that's the post sunset of Stuart Little. That's what we're picking up on is like, oh, that family, the dad died early of a heart attack and the mom had dementia and Cleary was taking care of her. The brother does something negligent and accidentally gets the mom killed. He's in jail. This house gets sold. He's not allowed to have it. So he's like living in the walls. But he's working at Petco because, he's still got to work.
We might win the award for saddest anthropomorphic mouse movie.
We're adding to the canon. Okay. We're adding to the canon. Not that there aren't sad stories. Charlotte's Web is really sad, but that's more about a spider being
yeah, there's a rat there, but the rat just gets to eat all the slop.
That's right. Yeah, that's true. And the pig, is sad, whatever. But yeah, I was going to say like it's probably stands by itself as being the saddest anthropomorphic farm animal story for sure.
What, Charlotte's Web?
No, this Cleary Jones.
This one, yeah. Cleary Jones. Just and the poster is just Cleary Jones, and it's an animated. Is this animated or is this real? I kind of
talking about it being animated. I think it needs to be real for sure.
It needs to be real at this point. And then we just have the back of the mouse with him like with a loose tie and like a bottle of like alcohol or something like that. Dude, we did the mouse story. Do you have any ideas for along the lines to close this sucker out? We did it.
Sucker out. That's a good question. You had a little bit there where you had the brother talking to him, kind of giving him a pump up Ben Affleck speech.
I can do something like that to close us out if you want.
Yeah, I want to hear something from the vegans though. I think that's an interesting little subgroup.
The vegans, or like the girl he dates temporarily from the vegans.
Yeah.
Yeah, do you have anything that they would say, or do you?
All right, so I think this is in the midpoint somewhere. He gets wrapped up with the vegans, gets spotted at Petco, and they liberate him or whatever, or in their minds they liberate him, and he goes in, has a good time with them. The one main vegan lady is like romantically attracted to him, and they end up getting into a fight though. Because they view the world diametrically differently, and this is a key moment thematically where she is going to try and be pushing him towards being an unforgiving person, and so she says like, "How can you wear clothes? Like, why don't you just like liberate yourself and just live as an animal? Like, how could you even like consider these people your parents? Like, these aren't your parents at all. And he's like, he turns to her and he says, well, to me, the best things about me are human.
Thank you all for listening to StoryFellas, a part of the Pemmican Studios podcast network. Check out our show notes for bonus material, links, and more. To find out more about our current projects, send us messages, and suggest ideas for the show, go to storyfellaspodcast.com. If you liked what you heard, share the show with a friend. Word of mouth is the best way to grow this community. Until next time, go make and break those stories.